They heard from the lobby groups and the 90 different people, who appeared before the committee to air or express their views concerning the proposed bill by, the government. And of course, the bill has been very, very vocally fronted and supported by the head of state, despite opposition from not only the opposition led by Raila Odinga, but as well a majority of Kenyans. Now, a majority as well of those who presented their views before the Finance Committee or the Kimani Courier-led committee rejected the bill in totality, while some supported the bill. Now the question is, everybody is looking at the members of parliament. As a Kenyan, from wherever you are, from wherever constituency you come from, you're looking at your member of parliament. Will he save you or not? Because now it lies with the members of parliament. Now, talking about members of parliament as well, you see, in Narok yesterday during the homecoming, Thanksgiving service or ceremony for CS Soipantuya, the president indicated that he's waiting to see those MPs who will vote against the bill. And he termed those who will vote against the bill as those against the development of the country, those against creation of employment opportunities for their constituents. Now, we'll look into that a bit further later on. But, the weekend was long. Sporting-wise, our very own Faith Kipyegon broke the 1500 meters world record. Registered a time of 3 minutes, 49 seconds, and 11 microseconds. It's been long coming. You should have seen or must have seen that coming a long time ago, because Faith Kipyegon has been very, very consistent in terms of the performance she's had. Not only in cross countries, but as well in the Olympics. Now, she broke the record during the Florence Diamond League in Italy. Talking about the Florence Diamond League, of course, she's been heaped with praise from people from all walks of life around the globe, from the likes of Sebastian Coe to the head of state, His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, and many, many other people. Of course, we're waiting for her return. We do expect that she'll be granted a heroic reception. But as well, apart from Faith Kipyegon, Ferdinand Omanyala was racing in the Florence Diamond League as well, and he emerged second to America's Fred Curley. It's an improvement from Ferdinand Omanyala, because in the Moroccan Grand Prix, Rabat Diamond League that was held a week ago, he was third, but this time around he was second. Only signals the right direction that Omanyala is heading to. Is putting the country on the map. But as well, I know if Simba Elijah Charles Kiage would be here today, he'd be trolling me, because Manchester United lost in the FA Cup final to an unstoppable Manchester City side. But that is that. Our season ended not in the likeliest manner, but by defeat to our arch rivals Manchester City. But now we relax and wait for next season as Manchester City prepare for the Champions League final slated for Saturday next weekend. But those are just some of the things that happened through or over the weekend. But on this particular note, take a tiny breather. I'll be back with the highlights, what is making headlines on the newspapers this particular morning on a week that we're expecting the second reading of the finance bill. Don't go away. Well. Remember, you can watch this particular show across all our social media platforms at Lookuptv on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and as well as YouTube. Let us know, what do you feel? What are your concerns ahead of the tabling of this finance bill for the second reading in the National Assembly on Thursday this week? And what do you think should be done? Because now this is a bill that many people are talking about. Will it be settled in Parliament? Because, of course, President Ruto has the majority, or will it require something to be done outside Parliament? Already, we do know that the likes of Busia Senator Okiya Mtata have proceeded to court. So it will be an interesting week. But just to look at the dailies this morning, I want us to start with this standard. on this 5th day of June. And the headline says, Kenyans look to MPs, like you can see on your screen. Kenyans look to MPs, beg your pardon, to save them from the tax burden. It's a tough task, of course, and they say the National Assembly resumes sittings tomorrow with huge weight on their shoulders. The executive is adamant that no matter what Kenyans feel, they, of course, will have their way. When I say how the leaders will legislate, will determine whether the cost of living gets bearable or not. Now, some of the contentious issues in the finance bill is not only the additional 8% on VAT, because it now takes the VAT from 8% to 16%, but as well the contentious housing levy. And of course, the 3% contribution by the employee and the 3% contribution by the employer. So it is an entire debate. It is an entire circus. And here, as you can see, like I said, and you can see on your screen, on your bottom left, that is what the president said. And he said, I'll be waiting to see that MP will vote against the bill. And he says, I'm waiting to see where they will stand against, so that we know who are against our plan, which we sold to Kenyans during the campaigns. We cannot be people of dissent. Well, on his part, his deputy said there's no problem with the people. It is the leaders who are lying to them. If your MP says people should pay taxes, then he should not ask for roads in his constituency. A very controversial statement there by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, and says once the bill is passed, the noise will last for a few days and then people will move on. Again, very controversial statement by the Deputy President. Now, like I said, the bill will be tabled for the second reading on Thursday, and our only hope, and the hope of many Kenyans, is now in the hands of the people they elected on the 9th of August 2022 to represent them in the National Assembly. Now, will they do you justice? Maybe, as you hoped, you did them justice by electing them into office. It's their turn to showcase that they stand in solidarity with you. Well, time will tell. Just a matter of days before that bill is tabled in Parliament. And as well, there's a particular story. By the way, that particular story in the finance bill is still covered on page 6 of this particular newspaper as well. On the same finance bill, Kalonzo Musyoka says, forget matters going to court. Rise and oppose the taxes. We do know that, and like I said, various lobby groups have threatened to go to court. And of course, Okia Omtata, in the presence of the president, last week on Sunday at the Busia Stadium, said he will proceed to court to counter the finance bill, because to him, he says, if the bill goes through, it, of course, contravenes at least 30 different sections of the Kenyan Constitution. So many people are counting on him. Kenyans, of course, are counting on him to counter the bill in court. But still, Wiper Democratic leader, that is Kalonzo Musyoka, and one of the principals of the opposition coalition, says, forget about going to court, oppose the bill. We do know that the opposition has instructed its members of parliament to, of course, reject the bill in totality. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and the president himself was vocal yesterday, and Raila Odinga has been vocal, and they are all rooting for an open voting or system of voting in parliament, so that they will know who voted for the bill, who did not vote, or who opposed the bill. The president said, it's okay, if you want that, we will go that route. We'll go that route. So we'll wait and see. And again, on the same page 4 of the Standard this morning, yet again, county governments are staring at a cash crunch crisis, or they are in a cash crunch crisis, because they say there is the issue of the delayed funds or disbursement of the funds or allocations to the county government county governments by the national government. Now, we do know that the Senate voted to, of course, allocate the county governments 385 billion, and they rejected the proposal to raise the allocation to 407 billion. And a majority of Kenya Kwanza allied senators voted against that particular proposal. So you can read that particular story on page 4 of the Standard this particular morning as well. Today is the World Environment Day, and as well on the back pages you can see Karim Benzema finally did bid his teammates in Real Madrid, or in the Spanish capital of Madrid, goodbye, because of course he's been linked to a move to Saudi Arabia, and of course joined Cristiano Ronaldo, lifted record 5-time Champions League winner. But away from the Standard this morning, we jump straight to the Daily Nation. I don't know what to say. I don't know whether it is, I should just say it is a sad story over here, because the big headline is, I quote, "They used me." Now, if you're following, the run-up to the elections in 2022, during the campaigns, even when President Dr. William Ruto was presenting his papers to the IEBC, of course, then led by Wafula Chebukati and the Bomas of Kenya. He was accompanied by a boda guy and a lady who was referred to as Ama Mamboga. Now, the name of the lady is Pauline Waithira. And the Nation has highlighted the story, and as you can see on your screen, by the way, on your left, you can see Ms. Pauline Waithira looking on as a deputy president then, and the president currently, Dr. William Ruto, and his running mate then, and the current deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, presenting their papers before the IEBC at the Bomas of Kenya, like I've just said, on the 4th of June 2022. Now that's exactly 1 year ago. 1 year later, where is Ms. Pauline Waithira? Ms. Pauline Waithira now says she's been ridiculed, and as you can see, and this is what she says, "I was used to illustrate how poor people will benefit from the Ruto government through bottom-up approach, but after they won the election, I was not even invited for the swearing-in Kasarani for the inauguration. I spent the whole day crying at home. People were laughing at me." Now, I wonder what goes on in the mind of President Dr. William Samoei Ruto and his deputy and all the leaders in the Kenya Kwanza government, those who made things happen and brought Ms. Pauline Waithira close to the president then, during the campaigns, and her state now. Paints a picture of how dirty our political scene is. Today, it might be relevant just to put across an agenda tomorrow. Once politicians get their way or what they want, sad to say, you're forgotten. So, she's green vegetables vendor. She sells fruits at Kangani Market in Kiambu County. Like she says, she was used by the Kenya Kwanza team during the campaign period. But away from that, there's also the story on page 6 concerning the finance bill, like I've talked about in the Standard. But there's another story here on page 10, and it says, "Members of Parliament back MPs back push to outlaw detention of patients and bodies." That particular story is on page 10 of the Daily Nation. It could be reprieve for those whose kings have been held hostage in hospitals because of a backlog of money they owe various hospitals for their medication. And by the way, talking about matters health, there's a looming crisis in the healthcare, because the union of, or association of rural private hospitals in the country have instructed their members not to attend to anybody or any Kenyan who is seeking treatment through the National Hospital Insurance Fund, because they say the insurance fund has not remitted the funds they need to remit. So it now puts the common man in a very precarious situation, because if there's a man out there who doesn't have any income, depends on the NHIF for treatment. Now, the Private Hospitals Association says we are not treating anybody using the NHIF card, and you don't have any other money, or you lack the funds to seek proper medication. What are you going to do? And it's a sad story, because employees or employers do remit the contributions by their employees to the National Hospital Insurance Fund. Worth noting that, by the way, the contribution was increased to 2.7% of your basic salary. So we're staring at a very, very big crisis in the health sector at a time as well when there's a debate surrounding whether the healthcare function should be taken away from the county governments to the national governments. As well, as I wrap up the news highlights this particular morning is that on page 19 there's a story on the DCI summoning politicians in the probe into tea farm attacks. Remember, there have been incidents of machines being torched in the counties of Kericho due to what the residents term as a lack of employment opportunities because the machines have now taken over the jobs they used to do. That is all that we had on the news highlights this particular morning. But remember, we'll be talking more concerning especially the finance bill, what next, even as Parliament resumes its sittings tomorrow. What do we look forward to the entire week in terms of the tabling of the report, as well as we wait for the budget, or the first budget under Dr. President William Ruto's reign, which is slated to happen to be read on the 15th of this month. On that note, I take a short breather. I'll be back with what's making headlines on the bulletin this particular morning. Well, thank you very much for staying with us. Beg your pardon. This is the Morning Drift, and you're just in time for the news making headlines this particular morning. Now, a group of 4 members of the County Assembly and elders from Siaya County have challenged their senator, that is Oburu Odinga, and former Alego Usonga MP Peter Aringo to iron differences between Governor James Orengo and his deputy William Woodwall, who have been at loggerheads over alleged mismanagement or misappropriation of county government funds.
Leaders drawn from Siaya County are now calling for a mediation team to help settle the protracted battle between Siaya Governor James Orengo and his deputy William Woodwall. West Alego former member of County Assembly Peter Muhula and former Siaya Mayor Aguto Ochiam want Siaya Senator Oburu Odinga and former Alego Member of Parliament Peter Aringo to spearhead talks.
We hope and believe that the Honorable Senator will accept to our request, that we request the Honorable Senator Dr. Oburu Odinga and the former long-time and respected Alego Usonga, former MP, elder, the Honorable Peter Olo Aringo, to possibly intervene in these wrangles. We have a belief they have the powers to reserve capacities and wisdom to bring this conflict to order for the benefit of the Siaya people.
The leaders want the County Assembly to also form a special committee to investigate allegations before tabling an impeachment motion against the Deputy Governor.
We appeal to the committee meetings, which is expected to be on the 6th June of 2023, to accord the Deputy Governor, Dr. William Woodwall, a fair hearing and possibly come up with a reconciliatory decision.
Meanwhile, Sufuria Revolution Movement leader Obungu Owich has termed the ongoing wrangles between the two leaders as exasperating to the people of Siaya, claiming William Woodwall should relinquish from the seat if he can't work with Governor Orengo.
On that account, you want to tell Honorable Woodwall, Siaya is a county led by its representatives. Devolution, Raila Amolo Odinga is the architect of devolution. Baba is the one who brought devolution. It is very embarrassing every now and then to see to it that the people of Siaya are talking about Siaya this, Siaya that, Siaya this, Siaya that every day. Honorable Woodwall Denge, you are a co-principal to Orengo. If you don't want to work with Orengo because the chick in the kitchen has gotten hotter, go home.
Innocent Ogaro, Lookuptv.
Well, a very seeming difference between the governor and his deputy in Raila Odinga's backyard. Moving forward, civil society organizations, that is Transparency International, Kenya Human Rights Commission and Mzalendo, among others, have come together to oppose the proposed amendments to the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Bill 2023, sponsored by Mbeere North MP Geoffrey Kariuki, saying that the amendment poses a significant threat to the progress made in the fight against corruption. Audrey Cherotich now reports.
Civil society groups have jointly opposed the proposed amendments on the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Bill 2023 that seeks to make changes on two instrumental sections.
This bill is opposing a significant threat to the progress made so far in the fight against corruption in this nation.
The civil society organizations say that they are in disbelief following Honorable Thuku's suspicious and sinister motives to propose the repeal of these sections that dictate drastic and gross offences.
I also wish to remind Honorable Ruku that our country loses close to 1/3 of its budget on corruption, with procurement being the biggest avenue for graft. Kenyans can still remember the procurement-related scandals that occurred at the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, KEMSA, during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, in which we lost 7 billion Kenya shillings. Then there's been the National Youth Service scandal that amounted to 1.9 billion Kenya shillings in losses, and the recent mosquito nets procurement scandal at KEMSA that has seen Kenyans lose about 3 billion shillings.
The leaders note that despite having a SECA, there have been numerous corruption scandals that have rocked the country, stating that the bill only needs strengthening.
If anything, the laws need to be strengthened and not weakened. In fact, Kenyans should be more worried about the magnitude of the corruption scandals we are likely to face if this law is weakened.
Following Deputy President Rigathi Gachagwa's remarks that the bill will be passed into law, owing to the fact that Kenya Kwanza has the majority in parliament, the civil society organizations had this much to say.
Passed, whether you like it or not, is a very unfortunate statement in Kenya today. It is disrespectful of the people of Kenya. It is abuse of the office that our deputy president holds. It is going against the sovereignty of the people because our constitution gives us the power.
Audrey Cherotich, Lookuptv.
Thank you very much, Audrey Cherotich. Moving forward, Interior CS Kithure Kindiki has yet again reiterated his commitment to flushing out rogue religious leaders. This comes as the government is actively investigating the Shakahola massacre that has shaken the country, with the third phase of exhumation of bodies expected to start this week. Samedika with more details.
Attending a church service at the Kenya Assemblies of God in Sagana, Kirinyaga County, Interior CS Kithure Kindiki has sent a tough warning to misleading preachers, noting that they will be treated as terrorists.
Those of you who are hiding behind the Holy Scriptures to cause us harm in our country, to kill people, to torture them, to rob them their property, your days are numbered. We will treat you the same way we are treating armed bandits in Rift Valley and the other Islamic terrorists who are coming from our neighboring country to hurt our people.
As Kenyans continue awaiting on the Shakahola unfoldings, the tough-talking CS now says he will be leading a third round of searching for bodies of Paul Mackenzie's followers, as the number of those dead stand at 242.
Wakati tulikuwa tunafunga awamu ya pili, tulikuwa tumeona makaburi ya halaiki 10, lakini tumeona makaburi ingine ya halaiki zaidi ya hiyo 10. At the moment, we are looking at about 22 mass graves.
Kindiki has, however, assured Kenyans that the government is set to ensure that the country stays safe despite political differences.
Anybody who tries to use violence to get political, social, economic outcomes, that person, we will deal with them with finality and ruthlessness never seen in this country before.
With CS Kithure Kindiki promising a crackdown on rogue preachers, His ministry has yet again barred Pastor Ezekiel Odero of New Life International against holding a crusade in Machakos County, citing that the embattled preacher is under active investigation. A decision that has been termed as unjust by Pastor Ezekiel's legal team.
They issued permits, everything was in progress, and they have now stopped. The next meeting, which is going to happen in Nairobi, we believe Pastor Ezekiel is going to reach his congregants in Nairobi so that he can be able now to reach out to them, even as we fight in court.
As CS Kithure Kindiki is put on test with a crackdown on misleading religious organizations, Kenyans are left waiting to see how far the government will go with this agenda, as only a few, like the coast preacher who enjoys huge following in the country, Ezekiel Odero, remains the only one whose cases are under active investigations. Samedika, Lookuptv.
Now, moving forward, the country is staring at a health crisis after a section of private hospitals across the country unanimously agreed to suspend payments through the National Hospital Insurance Fund. Now, this comes after the lapse of a 60-day period given to the government by the hospitals to solve the stalemate between the NHIF board and themselves.
At least 80% of Kenyans who depend on the National Hospital Insurance Fund could soon fail to get medical attention in private hospitals across the country due to the ongoing tussle between private hospitals and the NHIF board. The Rural Private Hospitals Association of Kenya has instructed all private hospitals under the association not to admit patients using the NHIF cover unless they are willing to make their payments in cash.
NHIF tunalipa kila mwezi. Tutafanya aje sasa? Sisi watu wasiojiweza tutafanya namna gani? Sisi wala hatuna namna, tumefanya kazi, tumeritaya, tuko nyumbani na tunaendelea kulipa NHIF. Na sasa ati hatuwezi tibiwa kwa private. Kwani private ikipotea, tutatoa pesa wapi tuende kutibiwa? Serikali, Ruto, tusaidie tafadhali.
With the insurance fund owing hospitals at least 20 billion in payments, the manager at Hosome's nursing home, a private facility in Nyamira, blamed the NHIF board for failing to remit the funds, a move that he says hindered operations within various private facilities.
These companies, these payers, they affect our operations in a great extent because we treat their patients, they pay us later. But we are facing a serious challenge when it comes to payment, and this has grounded most of our operations. And if you don't get the monies that you have spent for patients, even getting quality service, offering quality service to this patient becomes a challenge because essentially there is no man to run the hospital. There is no man to pay salaries, so you find out you have demotivated staff. You find you have no money to pay your suppliers, so you find some drugs cannot be supplied.
Abuga was critical that despite employers remitting employee contributions, the fund had failed on its part in replicating the same.
Employers are remitting this money, people are contributing, but the way the fund is being run personally, I say there is a problem which needs to be addressed. So I'm appealing to the government. If sincerely speaking, the government is caring about the welfare of the citizens, healthcare is a #1 priority. Because if the government can take time and work on these essential services to ensure that all hospitals who are contracted by NHIF, they are paid in good time, we'll have a very healthy country.
As the tussle between private hospitals and NHIF continues, patients are set to pay the price due to lack of remittance, as many of them lack funds to privately finance their medication.
Kama vile tulikuwa tunalikuja kitambo tunalipiwa NHIF na tulipia pesa. Sasa hatujui ni nini imetokea saa hii. Tumepona tuko hospitali, NHIF tunangojea message. Hii pesa tunalipa kila mwezi. Inaenda wapi? Kama mimi nimelipa paka 2024 December. Hiyo pesa yote NHIF inaweka itaki kutulipia tutoka hospitali. Sasa Ruto, tusaidie.
However, acting NHIF CEO Samson Kuhora has taken a swipe at the association, citing a violation of the contractual provisions on the part of the hospitals, insisting that eventually the funds will be remitted. Ian Keitani, Lookuptv.
President William Ruto has rallied the Kenya Kwanza MPs behind the 2023 finance bill and the housing levy. Speaking in Narok County during a church service, Ruto sounded a warning to the MPs, cautioning them against rejecting the bill, which he termed as a game changer to many Kenyans. The bill is expected to be tabled in the National Assembly upon resumption of its sittings this week. Shadrach Kareria now reports.
In allocated number of time, the mover, who is the deputy, has clock kicks faster towards the 15th of this month, when the finance bill will be tabled before the floors of the National Assembly for hearing. Political temperatures have continued to build up among the members of parliament, as both the Kenya Kwanza and the Azimio coalition piled pressure on their MPs to move by the decision of the respective coalition. President William Ruto, while at a Thanksgiving service in Narok County, rallied the Kenya Kwanza MPs in support of the finance bill, warning them against rejecting the bill.
Nimesikia ya kwamba kuna watu wanasema ati siku ya finance bill kila mjumbe ajulikane amefanya kazi gani ama amepiga kura upande gani. Mimi nakubaliana ya kwamba kila mjumbe ajulikane amepiga kura wapi. Mimi nangojea mbunge mwenye anaenda kupiga kura ati kupinga mpango ya serikali kuwapatia hawa vijana ambao waliwapigia kura ati ajira. Mimi nangojea wale wabunge watakuwa ukule bunge ni tuwaone kwa macho kwamba wao wanapinga ati ajira ya hawa vijana ambao waliwapigia kura.
Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua defended the controversial housing levy, accusing the Azimio politicians of misleading Kenyans.
So, mimi nataka niwaulize kwa unyenyekevu ya kwamba this is a defining moment in the Republic of Kenya.
Nyinyi kama mbunge wenu wanasema watu wasilipe kodi, asilize barabara kwa sababu inatoka wapi. Wengine wenye kuchochea ni watu marafiki yangu wa gazeti. Use your excellency headline.
Na vile tunafungua bunge siku ya Jumanne, wengi wanauliza wewe mbunge simama kati ya wananchi ama kati ya serikali. Serikali ni ya wananchi.
Unaambiwa utoe 300 na ule amekuajiri atoe 300, alafu pesa uwekewe mahali izae riba. Ukitaka nyumba utapata nyumba, utaki nyumba utakuja kuchukua hiyo pesa.
This comes amidst protest threats from the Azimio politicians, such as Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, who has hinted the return of the anti-government protest, Kalonzo stating that the coalition will declare its next course of action soon. Rigathi Gachagua warned that the government may be unable to fund its project should the MPs reject the bill. Shadrach Kareria, Lookuptv.
That particular story by Shadrach Kareria brings us to the end of the bulletin this particular morning, but it forms basis of a discussion or conversation this morning. The finance bill and, of course, everything that is expected to happen this week. The housing levy, the state of, the country, the state of the nation as well. The looming crisis in the county governments because of the delay in disbursement of allocation, or the county allocation, or the revenue allocation to the county government. That in just a moment. So don't go.